This is Holly Hansen with the Texan News, and right now I'm visiting with Commissioner Jack Cagle of Harris County. This is the most populous county in the state of Texas, manages quite a sizable budget, but Commissioner Cagle has seen quite a few changes since he's been on that commissioner's court. Commissioner, can you talk to us about how the role of county government has changed and the spending priorities have changed in Harris County over the past few years?
Well, Harris County Commissioner's Court, as in every county, is composed of 4 commissioners and a county judge. And traditionally, the role of a commissioner, teachers teach, preachers preach, commissioners commission. We fund the functions of government. And traditionally, they go into the category of the 3 Ps. You fix the potholes, you make sure that the parks are kept clean and the bathrooms in the parks are clean, and you take care of public safety. We fund the constables, the sheriffs, we fund the jails, the courthouses, the judges and the supplements to the state judges, the DAs. And so it's our job to make sure that potholes, parks, and public safety are taken care of. That's our job. And our job has not changed. But in the last 3.5 years, when the progressive socialists have taken over, where the money has gone has changed, and where the focus and time of what we're doing has changed. Commissioner's Court used to be over with at about noon, because most of the time we were talking about what needs to be done in each of our precincts to serve the people. And there's not normally a whole lot of debate on, is that a good road project or not? Are we adequately funding that pothole fix or not? Those are sort of simple things. But now we spend a lot of time debating resolutions, telling the United States Supreme Court how they should rule on cases, telling President Trump how he should conduct his business, and telling President Biden, oh, attaboy, good job on this action or another, all of which are not our job. The focus has moved away from serving the people to lording it over them and spending millions of dollars on things that are not in our core project. And sometimes they relabel it. Prime example of this last Commissioner's Court, as you're aware, Holly, and you endure these hour-long marathons. We, in our last budget hearing, denied 82%. And when I say we, I mean the majority, 3-2 vote, denied our local constables, sheriffs, DAs, their requests, and our judges, their request to be adequately funded to combat this crime demic that we have in Harris County. Instead, we have found a way of funding up to $52 million in this last Commissioner's Court to go to early childhood education. Because if we can create our own version of, a Lena youth, then they'll all grow up to be honorable citizens, and we won't have a crime problem anymore. So they may die in the classroom waiting for those years of the early childhood education to occur, but we're not going to get the criminals off the streets that are hurting them. In fact, we're going to continue to give them pinky swear bonds so that they can continue in their course of conduct that they've had. And I think we're now, after the shooting that we had in Nottingham Park, which is one of our parks, we're well above 180 people who are now dead.
Wow.
180 people plus who are now dead. That means
and those
mothers without daughters.
Those are suspects who were out on multiple bonds in
on
Harris
multiple
County.
Bonds in this failed system of, well, as one of the commissioners said, Commissioner Elsie said, that the true victims of our society today are the accused. So if you get arrested for viciously beating someone up, not the person who was beat up is the victim, the one who beat them up, the assaulter. That person is the one that the majority thinks is the true victim of society today. And that's backwards. We're now living in a time in Harris County to where wrong is said to be right, up is down, down is up. And whenever they say the words transparency, well, something is being hidden, like our, not only are they soft on crime, it appears now that they like to commit it. 3 members of the judge's staff are now under indictment. Maybe soft on crime is a self-preservation tactic.
So you yourself are up for re-election this year, and unfortunately, I think for you, there was a change in the way the districts were drawn in Harris County. You were surprised, I believe. I was at that Commissioner's Court meeting where they announced what the maps would be. So now you have an entirely new precinct. What is your strategy for winning re-election this November?
Redistricting is a good thing.
Sure.
It allows you to preserve one person, one vote. And because precincts 3 and 4 have been growing, the Republican precincts, more people have been moving there, we needed to reallocate our votes and needed to move 200,000 people. Instead, the majority moved 2.3 million people. In essence, they swapped our 2 precincts. And the purpose was to commit harm. But I got to tell you, what they intended for evil, I think God intends for good. Before I was a commissioner, I was a judge. Before I was a judge, I was a trial lawyer. I'm sort of wired for a good fight, and I've not had a good political fight in 10 years. So I'm out there doing 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 3 dinners, meeting all of these new folks and cramming into 11 months, 11 years of service, sure, and trying to make sure that we give people good service, that they consistently vote, because the issues that people care about in the new precinct is they don't like being robbed. Crime, crime, crime. I've consistently fought against people's taxes being raised without their consent. Part of the whole reason why the redistricting occurred was Judge Hidalgo said, don't be a Berean, look it up yourself. But in Commissioner's Court, she said that she didn't like my party's race to the bottom with regard to taxes. In other words, all of your money is their money, and I and Commissioner Ramsey deserve to be eliminated because we were in the way of them of spending your money. And so those issues are universal issues. The campaign is going quite well as long as I keep focusing on less government, reasonable government, help our law enforcement, use, our local law enforcement, they know what they need. But instead, the majority says we're smarter on crime than you guys and try to follow the patterns of Chicago. Well, Chicago doesn't work. And now they've been successful. That's the best practices. We now have a crime rate or murder rate that's almost higher than Chicago's from month to month.
Wow. And is it correct that county commissioners, in a 3-2 partisan vote, only voted to approve something like 18% of what law enforcement requested for this next budget cycle?
Yes, and it was almost hilarious at the time, because when we were sitting there arguing that they needed, we're going to approve $52 million for early childhood education, but deny 82% of what our local law enforcement asked for. And when I pressed Judge Hidalgo on it, she said that we couldn't fund law enforcement the way they requested, otherwise we were going to cause tuberculosis. And it kind of shook me a little bit. I think what she was trying to say is that all of these initiatives that they have in the public health area and all these other things were going to be reduced. Now, we're at 180 plus dead people due to violent crime on repeat offenders. And I haven't had a chance to find out how many people in Harris County have died of tuberculosis. But I'm kind of thinking that the average citizen would much rather not be robbed, shot, or killed than have the risk of possibly in a number of years of having tuberculosis.
And is it not true that now I'm
in favor of stopping tuberculosis,
of course. We don't want tuberculosis to resurge, right? But it seems like it's been a while since
that's a pretty big stretch.
Yes.
That's not the urgent issue that's harming us today.
Now, since that budget was approved, you have had to come back and add some funds to some of those agencies. Is that not correct? I believe recently the district attorney's office and perhaps the sheriff's office.
Well, we now actually have violent crime occurring in the jail against the jailers as well as against other inmates. That's unacceptable. A young man with autism murdered in the jail. Another gentleman murdered in the jail. Violent assault against one of the police officers in the jail. They are woefully understaffed. It's not safe for the quote-unquote accused or for those who are also in those same facilities. And so we were able in the last Commissioner's Court to finally get the majority to approve another 100 positions. They needed 300. Again, somehow there's this myth or this idea set that if you add more officers to help do their job, that somehow or another that's going to be harmful for the accused. And that's not the case. The accused, if you believe that their rights are more important than the victims, if you take that as your premise, don't you want them to be safe when they're in your jail?
Sure. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much for your time. We wish you the best in your upcoming election and look forward to covering you more at Harris County Commissioner's Court.
And Holly Hansen is an awesome journalist. I can't wait to read your articles, and I think that Connie Burton is a genius for finding you, hiring you, and allowing you to do the great work that you do in covering the madness and insanity of Harris County Commissioner's Court. Thank you, Connie Burton, for giving us honest, fair, truthful, and timely coverage of Commissioner's Court through Holly Hansen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.